So, good morning and welcome to the corporate engagement with differently abled persons for a cause. Challenges, adaptation, unlocking solutions and enablers. We have an excellent panel today with a very diverse range of experience from C.A.U.S.E, Dipti, Aravind, Lenish and Bindu being here. Before we start, I'd like to just invite Shankar to just brief us on this whole thing. Can I call Shankar? Yeah, yes. So you can set the initial tone.
No, I'm not setting the initial tone. First of all, let me thank each one of you for coming over and then taking this session. Almost all faces are very familiar to me. I'll just spend maybe 2 minutes without any much of time, on when we were putting this topic of cost. For Oorjja, what went through our mind, and so it'll probably help you address the same being all the thing. See, when we were over the last 5 years, when we were doing this corporate engagements, one important thing we realized was, we traditionally used to look at the differently able community as more from a sympathy angle or from the disability angle. What we realized over the last 5 years at Oorjja is, there's a big ability factor with that. And the famous example I keep using is, if you're a right-hander, your right hand is very strong. For the simple reason that we keep using the right hand. So I'm a hearing impaired person. My eyes are very sharp. So that's a sense in which I keep using through my life. So I've got an enabled ability in that particular sense. Can we identify such work environments where my visual capacity is more required? Believe me, they'll be much better than the mainstream people. Okay, so the the mutual respect comes in the workplace. So can we use that kind of an approach when we look at this differently able community? I'll just put it across like this. We try to adapt a lot of work situations to suitable for a different able person. Instead of that, can we look at the mainstream work environments that are available? Can we adapt that into that? Then believe me, they're going to be winners. With that, let me open it up for you, Sarath and the team. Thank you so much. We'll keep connecting. Right? I'll come back. Thank you.
Jay, congratulations on good anniversary.
Thank you. I think it's our celebration together. All of us are celebrating together. Yeah. Thanks.
So we will, I think, we'll start with Dipti that because you just onboarded some of the Oorjja students and its ecosystem. So we'll, we'll let you set the tone for these discussions on these areas. Yes, Dipti.
Thank you so much, all the panelists, esteemed panelists, and thank you, Jaya, for inviting me. Yeah, so I would certainly, talk about the experience that Expleo has had, because I, along with Sheetal Vedraj from my team, we had the diversity and inclusion team within Expleo India. And our experience has been a really learning experience. We started with D&I, like any other company, we want to, look at developing more women in leadership. How do we look at, hiring or getting on board people with disabilities? And, there's a lot of discussion since 2018 about, the queer groups coming in, sensitivity that is being spread, the Indian courts passing on several positive resolutions. A lot of news channels, newspapers, media projecting this in a very positive manner, the economics forums, the Times of India. These kind of media are projecting a lot on diversity and inclusion, and that really triggered a thought in the minds of all of us within Expleo. The 5 or 6 bunch of people who were very much passionate about this cause, we did not know where to start off. So within Expleo, we realized that we need to prioritize because we are hearing a lot. We have a supportive management, but how do we really channelize it in the right direction? And that's where we started putting together a plan in terms of our priorities. We said we'll develop more women in leadership that will make the organization stronger. We will involve more in decision making. We will have participative decision making. At the same time, we will have the other 2 pillars. One is hiring or getting first through training the differently abled people. And we'll have to have a systematic approach. In the meantime, we already had this connect with Oorjja through Balaji. And there was, a deep interest in people. And then especially the excitement of, our employees who wanted to first train the people who were already part of the Oorjja team and who were training the differently able people in multiple topics. So we chose, 2 topics, data and UI UX. And our team, at least 4 to 6 people from our team, were deeply engaged in first training the people, so that we set the tone in terms of expectation. First, understand what the challenges are in the training itself. It's very easy to just say, okay, we can go ahead and hire a few people, and then make them part of the team. No, but the learning and the challenges started right from day one when we started training them, right? Because these were people who were 8 of them, out of which 7 of them are hearing and speech impaired. One is a speech impaired person. And that experience itself, triggered a longer journey within Expleo. We started this about 1.5 years back. And in May 2022, 12th May to be precise, we actually onboarded them formally in Expleo. But the journey of training started 6 months before. So actually, I would say that this whole realization just doesn't start on one day when there's a trigger. There's a complete process that is involved. People need to come on board, like-minded people need to come on board. You have a lot of influence from different, avenues. There are so many corporates now talking about it, publishing a lot of numbers around it, speaking about it, forums that are being organized around D&I. So when we said, okay, what is inclusion in the real sense, and we are sensitive to the society, it's very easy to do a CSR activity, give funds to an NGO, but it is there. You go there and give them funds. But when you actually get them into your organization, there is a different set of challenges and different set of learnings that happens. And that's the journey that Expleo has been, has kickstarted, and we're very excited about it.
Just hearing about itself is quite exciting for us. Yeah, example. So what should be your takeaways?
First of all, thank you, Oorjja ji, for inviting me to this. I think it's a remarkable initiative that they are definitely doing and very timely. Actually, differently able or disability, for that matter, is more prevailing than we really think. I was just looking at some data, and in India, there are around 45 million recognized differently able people. And definitely, some of us in this room eventually are going to be experiencing some kind of disability or the other eventually. So, no doubt, especially when you are aging, you will definitely experience some of that. So yes, that is the overall thinking around the disability that definitely makes it a case to look at them more compassionately. That's one thing. So if I look at the holistic ecosystem, it's definitely an ecosystem that has for differently able people, their families, government, private sectors, researchers, legal people, public, and everybody. Obviously, all of these different entities play a substantial role in this. And when it comes to their economic and social activities, like Dipti rightly said, until recently we had been looking at them as, or rather Jay was telling, we were looking at them about rehabilitating them medically. What kind of support we would give them that way. But today, there is an entire shifting in the paradigm wherein we are looking at making them socially and economically capable so that they can be in the mainstream, leading a more fulfilling life. And that's definitely what the current focus and shift is, and which is a very encouraging thing. Now, with regards to their engagement and economic and social activities, definitely there are different avenues to explore. One is about self-employment, more encouragement in that way, because it's we don't be always the corporate. Second is about business. I don't think so. Many of that is currently explored. There are loans available to these people, so skilling them and helping them getting into business is another way to look at this. And the third definitely is about the workforce and how we would seamlessly integrate them into the workforce. When you come to the workforce, it is more of a business case than the right thing to do, because inclusion in any. I have been a diversity, equity, inclusion researcher for so many years. I have been speaking, doing action around it, founded organizations around it. You have been a part of one of my initiatives, which is Sankar, it's a reality show. So I have been working in this space, primarily focusing women, but my diversity thinking and diversity equity inclusion thinking is definitely a perspective. I would believe that differently abled people and even different personalities should be there in the workforce so that they can have more meaningful work experience for that matter. So helping the differently abled people access workforce is a very crucial thing because that is where a lot of opportunities are. And now with a lot of discussion in the mainstream, including DAY, which is diversity, equity, inclusion, CSR, and ESG, environmental, social, and governance, there is more opportunities actually for business to openly look at including people of all sorts, including people who are differently able. So I will stop with this and probably add more to it as a discussion. Thank you.
Yes, that's a good point. You mentioned that you must look at them as entrepreneurs. But we will come to that as well. Aravind, can we have your views on this management corporate consultant?
Good morning. First of all, I also thank the Oorjja team for inviting me in such a discussion for a cause. Okay. So actually, we have in all these 20 years, actually we have come across certain situation where one of our client officers who is into architecture, design and all, they are having a referendum draftsman who is the most beautiful performer and he always gives the latest output for each and every project. Then only actually personally I have realized that there is something more in them rather than all of us. And actually after that I used to tell my wife that all of us are handicapped in one or other way. Maybe intellectually that some may be good in maths, or some may be good in science, some may be good in analysis. So actually, in some or other way, all of us are handicapped, but we are using our strengths to excel in whatever field we are in. So what we have seen in all our clients is there are so many areas where we can utilize these specially able persons' capabilities and skills. So that they definitely, if we are going to train them in the right manner in which the market needs, that is a very important thing. Even though in our present education system also, there are so many gaps where even if we have seen BCom graduates who doesn't know debit side and credit side. So likewise, actually, there are so many handicaps in our system itself. So if we can educate or we can train these people after identifying their limitations, that is, we always highlight their limitations, but if we can exclude their limitations and the rest other things are the same and they may be more able than all of us to do that. So if we can have a training system or an education system in which we can develop them, keeping in mind the need of the market, keeping the need of the different industries and areas where we can actually venture them in, definitely they will come out with maybe brighter than us, they can perform. That we have identified in certain places also. Even last day when I was talking with Jay sir, actually I just asked about the miracle couriers, where Dhruv is doing a very beautiful job in that, where he uses only referendum participants in the whole program. So likewise, actually, as management consultants, we can also give some inputs regarding the market needs for each and every categories of differently able people here, and even we can support them to have an on-job training in different areas. So that can be also included in their training program. And once they successfully complete that, definitely we can get them employed. And even what ma'am said is very right, that actually even we can make them the entrepreneur skills also can be developed in those which because what we believe is every model, even if it is an NGO or any of its kind, if it is not commercially successful, it's not going to last. So whatever we do, it should it should be an economical or financial support to all those who is involved in that. So that kind of model, definitely we can also be part of that. And once we can give that inputs, and we can also be part of the training or the development thing, and even we can place them for on-job training as well as for different We have got almost 75, 80 categories of industries where we will have different kind of needs where we can employ them also. That is also possible. So that way, actually, that we can, as I said earlier, actually, we are also handicapped in so many ways. So actually, we should consider them one of us, and that inclusive model only will work in a long-term basis, right?
Yes,
So that's
even
my
to really
opinion.
bring them on.
Yeah.
I think we have Narendra also joined in. Can you hear us? Narendra, can you hear us?
Yeah, very well. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, all right. So, Narendra, can we have your take on this thing, on the, differently abled people for a cause?
I think cause is only about the acceptance. The ability, I don't think, is at all limited. For differentially abled people, it's only the acceptance and the I think I also agree to what my fellow panelists just said, that the equal opportunity is one thing, and second thing could be you can talk about we are not able to bring them up to a level where they can actually compete. There is no dearth that they cannot compete. There is no lack of ability. It's just that the equal opportunity, during education and maybe vocational training and all, that is what is missing. I think that's where the cause is. As far as the acceptance in last 5, 10, 15 years I've seen, I think acceptance has only increased. It is not decreased at all. I think over a period of time, I've seen more differentially able people, ending in offices, particularly in government, of course, but then even in private sector, I have seen more and more people coming to the coming on board. I think it's more of an equal opportunity at the level where we can train them and we can bring them to this one. This is where I think the cause is. I don't really think anything more than that. I would really point out to.
Yeah. So let me get to Lenish. Lenish, having been a part of this ecosystem for the past 5 years, what is that? Your take on the problems?
I will start with, I will try to conclude the first level of discussion. I will try to reply to Matt, so and Expleo team is there here. My first area is that at Oorjja we are trying to we are just collating the job description of organization issue that explain the line and stuff here. We will collecting the job description issue from the required employees. Then we will tabulating that issue. Then only we will start the training. Likely, he said this is an off-the-job training. Then only we will be empaneling the training with the organization, different number of entities. Then we will be starting the on-the-job training. That is the Oorjja and ecosystem is an off-the-job training happens. We are not teaching anything. We are just training them. We are not. There will be giving them activity. We will be giving them real life training models and all. Then, but the result is that we are there familiar with the output, they are familiar with the software or something, the tool or something like that. They can easily adapt to the situation. So that here the ecosystem is designed in such a way that we are providing them of the training in a perfectly manner, because we are just collecting the requirement from the corporate. We are not creating requirements from our side. We are just collecting the requirement from the corporate. And the as far as man said that for employment, self-employment, these are a dream, and we are planning for that. But as he said that there is a risk here, the situation is that profitability is a matter. And there's already we are having a factory which is run by a differently able hearing better designing and basically handicapped person, Aravind person, he is designing the factory, and all these members or guidance are designing that particular factory. So we are running a model. We are planning to enhance that. We are planning to develop that. We are planning to implement more into the ecosystem. Not only will be perfectly survival in both in financial and in marketable.
Yeah. So as I understand, basically your ecosystem, the ecosystem is actually bringing these differently able people into the mainstream spaces, and you look at what is the real requirement from corporates or even entrepreneurs. As you said, you already have one, and trying to give them that system of skilling them up. That I think is why we call it an ecosystem itself. And it's very differentiated. They themselves claim to be this ecosystem, where they're bringing on different elements to the I think, Dipti, you would be better to explain to us the adaptability and the enabling activities that your organization is able to, or you had to undertake in the 6 months that we talked to you about being associated with Oorjja before the kids were onboarded, and then after they've been onboarded, how it's been for you?
Yeah, I personally would like to, focus on this topic because it's a new learning even for me as an individual. We see differently abled people in the society. We see differently abled people who are elderly, where we have not been able to make the change. But when we see youngsters around us and in our society, we feel that aren't we responsible to bring in a change in their lives? And with that kind of an attitude, there were about 5 to 6 people within our own organization across different regions within Expleo, where we realized that there is a need for us to get involved into, bringing on board differently abled people, especially when we had this initial training that was happening as a part of CSR activity with Oorjja. It was mostly, remote. We had our own team members who were interacting with the Oorjja mentors. It was more of a train-the-trainer program, and then they would interact with the differently abled people. Here, there was certainly a challenge because all 7 of them were hearing and speech impaired, and 1 of them was speech impaired. Now, it's, as I said, different in a CSR activity, right? You are involved, you are imparting training, there is a course. But then as the team got involved more, they were directly interacting with the trainees through the mentors. It was very obvious that they were saying that, okay, we probably came up with too aggressive a course. Now we need to tune it. And they started talking to us that can we, reframe the course. And then they started working with the Oorjja mentors saying that probably let's restructure it. Let's, put together things that they will be able to capture first. And again, every single person is unique in a team. It's for us normal human beings also, right? And for normal teams. And we are in the IT industry, the IT services sector. And we also see that where we were interacting with the Oorjja trainees, all of them were at different levels of capturing information on at a different learning phase. So certainly this was a lot of challenge. How do we interact with them? Because yes, we are a technology company, right? We are an engineering company. But in the initial phases, while the training was happening, we had our routine sessions with them every week. We were seeing to it that we were involved in the course, how we put together the course, how we get feedback from them, and how are we evaluating them. Periodically, we are also evaluating them on each of the topics, 2 mainstream topics that we are training them. One is on the data engineering part, and the second is on the UI UX part, where the design skills will be put to use. And so initial part was whom to train what, right? So all 8 of them, we actually started with 11 and with 11 trainees. 1 of them couldn't complete the course. Then we also evaluated them, and then we got them on board only based on that evaluation. We had a basic criteria because again, we want to make them productive. Our responsibility is not just, getting them as trainees within our organization, but we would like to make them productive, useful to other team members, to our customers. And so we evaluated them even on the training that we gave them. So there was a test that was conducted. There is a huge challenge in communication that you will see in any evaluation that we have with our mentors. Huge challenge, but the mentors in Oorjja have made that possible to see to it that there is a higher level of interaction. Incidentally, we also have 1 of our Expleo team members who is part of the L&D team, who is a sign language expert. She's been our, the bridge between the Oorjja team and our trainers. So So this experience of, overcoming the challenges. So we were able to spot our in-house talent who could enable us to bridge the gap. We were able to evaluate even the trainees based on how much they have, picked in terms of the training for the 6 months. And then when we actually inducted them in Expleo in May, we saw to it that we picked up 8 out of the 11. One of them dropped out. The other 2 were not up to the mark, but because we had a basic, that is an evaluation criteria which all of us have, right? Because we want to make them useful within the organization. It shouldn't be just charity. It should be more of involvement, usefulness. They have to feel involved. They shouldn't feel that they're sitting idle and, they're just being at the mercy of some organization. No, Expleo believes that we should see to it that we are making them productive in projects. So that's how we got them on board. And then we are, every month, we do have a lot of interactions with them. This has certainly made the entire organization much more sensitive. Today, our town halls, today our, meetings, they're part of one of the digital CBU, all 8 of them. Everybody is now understanding that you have to put a transcript on. You have to put, see to it that you are including them in all the meetings. You have to see to it that, the sign language expert is invited for each of these meetings, so that once she listens to the entire meeting, she's then able to help them out, in understanding what was the content of the meeting, if at all there is a challenge. We are seeing to it that we are recording all these meetings that are happening, whether it is the global town hall where they participate in, whether it is the India town hall, or whether there are, the CBU specific meetings that are happening. These meetings are recorded so that, they can go through the transcript again and again. We know transcript is not 100% there, but then our sign language expert sees to it that she is able to fill in the gaps for them wherever they feel that there is a challenge, because we have people who, are globally participating from different countries in our meetings. So sometimes it's the problem of the accent that gets translated differently. So that's where our in-house expert can also help. And we're very happy that we found that person within our team, and that also has, brought in the opportunity for Devi, who's our team member, to see to it that, she's constantly giving us updates in terms of how the team is feeling, because it's not just about getting them, making them sit in one team, but seeing to it that how are they participating in other events. If any of, so we are located in 5 different locations within India itself and in 30 different countries in the world. But whenever our management teams or any of the teams are visiting, the specific office where they are located, currently we have them co-located near Cochin. So they are all in the Chennai office. It is more for them to be more approachable to their families, whenever there are any festivals or interactions that they need, so that they can travel quicker. Otherwise, we would have been happy to place them in all different locations. But the fact that we also brought in a batch together is very useful, because if just 1 or 2 people get on board, they would be easily ignored or neglected, right? It's the power of the batch, the 8 people coming together, that has also been the focus, because now we're talking about our 8 gems who are there. Every time when our management teams visited, they make a point to see to it that they're meeting them, they're understanding their challenges, passing them on to the DNI team. We are taking collective actions, figuring out, how can we address those challenges. Even if it is a challenge of, some tools that probably something has been missed out that has to be on the immediately, they are able to talk to the IT team. Now they interact directly, they're able to write very well. So they, use email. So use of technology, use of the right kind of softwares, and then the person, in-house person who's able to bridge the gap to enable more communication and effective communication with our onboarded team members has been a great experience. And that's probably, the winning formula for us. Otherwise, just having 1 or 2 people would have been probably difficult, because they would have been ignored in the process with, so many 4,500 plus people in this organization in India itself. 1 or 2 people probably, that's less than 1%. But now that there are 8 of them, we are seeing that, yes, we and the DNI team, the colleagues in the office, they're all learning. Plus, there's a lot of sensitization that we are doing through all the different, DNI activities. We are promoting through various meetings that we are having. We have discover and share sessions. all of them attend these sessions. Again, as I said, the technology is helping them, learn different topics, so they're not restricted to one topic. So exposing them to multiple forums. We ourselves seeing to it that every time, whenever we are making a checklist of invitees for meetings, we are seeing to it that we are inviting them. They are inviting them on LinkedIn to see to it that they get more information about Expleo Global, because now all of them are active on LinkedIn. They see what is happening within the company. They are able to share their experiences and like and share. That itself is adding value to the entire process. Their involvement, other people are seeing them. They are interacting with our global teams on our internal chats or Yama groups, and that is very important for them to be involved and integrated within the ecosystem.
Yeah, that's some very important points that you mentioned. One was that getting a bigger team itself was very important. Aravind, how do you see that your customers, more in manufacturing side, talk about IT, the challenges that really IT. So what would you see from the perspective of your manufacturing customers?
Even for manufacturing concerns, if we can have them trained in certain areas, right from actually all this planning side, and the software only, they may find certain difficulties because that all depends upon the kind of disability what they are having. If they are physically okay and if he is deaf or dumb or if he is blind or even blind, there are so many opportunities where they can engage in so many activities, right from the planning to the packing, that is the logistics and all, dispatch and all. So there are, I think, as ma'am said, it's always better to have a bunch of talents rather than having them, so that they will also feel that kind of thing. And another thing that they should also feel that they have been elected or they have been selected for their ability rather than their disability. So that kind of, if we can make them psychologically and intellectually, we can make them fit to be that kind of, if we can give that kind of strength, definitely they will excel. And as ma'am said, we can also have that kind of planning where we will have a half a dozen of them together, so that they will be the other team members also will consider them as a strength rather than having one person. We should not feel that empathy or sympathy towards them for giving them a job rather than we can. So likewise, actually, sir, there are so many opportunities, right, from not only in manufacturing sector but also in other service sectors also. That we have seen so many people in who have been selected based on their biodatas and all for these front office activities where even they are handicapped, not even to have a smile in their face. So actually, that we can have them in all, I think, all sectors, if that we can have them ready by proper trainings in place, which is synchronized with the market needs.
Yes, the inclusion needs to be on both the technology side as well. We have GR sir who's just joined us. Welcome, sir. Morning to you.
Yeah, sorry, I got slightly delayed. I had to sing and I should be getting out of the car soon, but please go ahead and ask. Please go ahead. Yes.
So can we hear from you, your experience on this space, differently abled? You have spent quite a lot of time and energy as well as, established this. So can we hear from you, sir?
Yeah, I would say that one of the biggest challenges one really faces is that over a period of time, everyone says that they want to be inclusive and they want to have more people on their roles or inclusive, but many of them don't know how to do it. And when you discuss with them in terms of how to go forward, generally they get stuck with, either there is someone within the organization who is not able to take it forward, or you suddenly find that they say that, how can this, how do I handle it if there is a difficult situation coming in? So one of the challenges which I feel that most organizations like what all of us are doing really faces getting the person trained in a manner that the job is given to that individual, not out of sympathy, but because of empathy. And I definitely like what the panelists just before this said, is that because of the capabilities that they have. This is one main thing. The other one is, as an Eastern society, when I say Eastern, so more of an Asian society, we somehow have a feeling of sympathy and that Ayo Pavam kind of a feel that actually works against what all of us are trying to achieve. So how do we get that out? Which means there's a societal change required. So one of the recommendations I generally do with corporates to whom I've been speaking to, earlier at Nish and now with the Autism Center, is I tell them that you need to have champions within your organization. And I would like to call those champions as catalysts. And we need to really look at how do organizations like ours train catalysts in such a manner that they actually carry on the message that people like all of you all are trying to do and take them on board. So then they are there. At the same time, one of the things, and this is something which I remember from a time when I had gone to admit my daughters to the Gallaudet University in Washington. My daughters are both deaf, and at that point of time, when they were there was one young girl from Africa who was coming, and she was deaf, but she also had orthopedic problems. So she was actually walking on crutches. Very difficult. So my daughters actually tried to help her with the chair to sit down, and the professor said no. Okay, he said no. And then he later on explained that actually they need to be able to manage on their own. If they fall down, you can help them to get up, or they should ask you for help. Otherwise, don't volunteer the help, because the volunteering the help actually brings down their self-esteem in a manner. So this is a mindset change that we need to have, especially when we are working in areas which in India, South India, you find the same thing. Even you'll find the same thing in even places like Singapore and China, where people tend not to really even accept that there are people with disabilities in the family. But when it comes to situations like this, that is there. The other big thing which I thought I should raise at this session was that one of the things which we really look at when we see is that, people say, okay, let me give the guy a job. And then the person is given a job, but then they say, no, I don't think that person can do it, but it's okay. It's part of our commitment, so we'll pay the salary, which is actually undermining that person's capability in a way. So we need to find within the organization activities which they can do. I now work mainly in the autism sector, but you can always find things which are repetitive in nature, which they can do. And then what we do is we actually train them in that area and need to find that you have the right kind of a person there. So it is not an easy task. What Oorjja is doing is something really great. Okay, with the kind of Jay and his team are doing is really highly appreciated with what they do. And I know how difficult it is. But we need to have that it's that empathy which needs to go out, and very clearly not sympathy. And how do we make them? The person who's taking them for the job takes them because they are really adding value. And I remember when I started off years ago with getting one of the Technopark companies to recruit somebody who was deaf or hearing impaired, the managing director called me after a few weeks and said, Vijaya, that's one of the best things that happened. And I asked him why. He said the productivity of that team went up. Because this young boy at that time, he was working, he was not disturbed because he couldn't hear what was happening around. And he was doing things much faster than what the team was doing earlier. And they said, oh my God, this guy who's supposed to be having a person with disability, he's able to do so much and we need to do better. So overall productivity of the team went up. And that is the kind of thought process which needs to come into the managers and others who are actually onboarding individuals with disability into their teams.
Yes, very, very interesting. All the points that you talked about, especially about that doctors in the US and the professor. Vijaya, that's something that, as Christians, we will think to be on that. We have your take on that.
To add further to some of the panelists said on this, rightly, as Vijaya also mentioned right now, this is more of a business case than something that is good. the more of a business case because diversity in general, diversity, equity, and inclusion in general brings in a lot of innovation. Because time and again, there are a lot of research that prove it. So obviously, I'm not surprised when we see such results on the ground. So that is about innovation and financial results of the organization ultimately goes up when you have a diverse group of people. Because a diverse group of people brings in different perspectives. It's no magic. It's just the simple fact that they bring in different perspective and that add value to the organization. So that would be the angle where we should start the thinking from because it's a business case. It's not that I need to spend a lot of money training them and they won't bring in results to the table and it's going to be a headache. No, at the end of it, the diverse group gives you result and at the same time, people are differently able, people give you longer tenure. That means you are again, what do you call it, having an advantage over your training and reskilling and hiring costs. So I think it should be definitely a top management decision that diversity, inclusion, equity should be a business case rather than just a good act that we want to do for the society. Then the entire perspective will be different. Yes, once this decision is taken, there is a lot of things that the organization definitely need to do. Dipti had very clearly talking about some of the examples as how her organization really affected that. For example, you need to definitely look at the infrastructure, including the assistive tech. When we are hiring somebody, and if you're not providing them some of this assistive text that would aid them, they are going to really be demoralized. The kind of induction we will plan for them. It's also about the number of people comes together because we are looking at what is the percentage of representation in the society. Bring in that representation to your organization. If there are 49% women, is your organization having 49% women, in the system in different levels? And if you have so much percentage of differently able people in the society, does your organization reflect on that? So once that decision is taken with regard to assistive tech and infrastructure, then it's about policy and process guidelines. You need to really work on, how will you govern your organization? How would you govern the policies regarding their support, regarding their hiring? What are the things you are basically doing regarding the governance part? And then it's about engaging them. When I say engaging them, training plays a very crucial part because skilling would be continuous. Some of this example that the other panelists talked about, I had in my mind about, one is about the buddy system where somebody comes and if you have a buddy who is relatively differently able group, that can be a lot of reassuring. And at the same time, there are definite evidences that if you have a mentor who is also differently able, basically to lift them up to the next level, then that is going to be a great support for them. And engaging them and having focus group discussion and sensitizing the rest of the employees, not in terms of sympathy, but in terms of how basically they would prepare themselves to accommodate people with different skills. And that being continuous is absolutely critical and important. Cultural, social, and sports activities, an example of what Oorjja is doing currently is a remarkable thing because sports can definitely get people together, and that is where we can, forget about our abilities and then we devise plans to bring them together. So a lot of such engagement activities, and I would also say, differently able people who are women might be requiring a bit more attention, because they are more vulnerable. We have policies such as Porsche governing corporates for women, but what more is to be done? And also organizations looking at short-term and long-term financial goals for differently able people. I think it's very critical because they give, obviously, with the training and once they are really skilled, they give you long tenure. But now what happens after certain time period? I think it should come as a responsibility for the corporate to plan and help them, seamlessly get into retirement or, anytime they want to really retire. I don't mention age here, but what would happen to them when it is about their financial security? There are a lot of governmental schemes and tax deductions and discounts that are applicable to them, guiding them in the right way, basically to support them, also be holistically helping them while we achieve the corporate goals of longer tenure and financial results and diversity inclusion indexes. Just to add on.
If I can get back to Narendra, what do you how do you think that opening the doors for these kind of people to get mainstream with them, and keeping in mind that this all corporates needs to be really looking at profits as a motive business, what needs to profits. So what would be your take on those?
Well, I think it's quite a lot of information, quite a new learning that even I am having as of today. So really speaking, I may not be fully competent to answer that question. But what I see, how my co-panelist, how Vijaya talked about the inclusion of the people within their organization, within his organization, and Dipti talked about it. I think some organizations are doing pretty well. I think they have learned how to do the inclusion. I think there is still a major part of the corporate world where the inclusion is probably only on papers, or probably even there it doesn't really exist, right? So I think the scope is huge. Again, I think as I said that I'm not really fully competent to answer this question, but I think I'm learning, and I think maybe I'll be better prepared next time for answering such a question. My background, research on this has been fairly limited.
It's very new for us to hear Dipti and Vijaya also speak about this. So don't worry, we are with you on the spot. Then what would be your thing on this? Because now we want to move from sympathy, empathy, and empowering, and bringing them onto the mainstream. So, what from your experience with Oorjja, how was the profits that has worked with?
We are onboarding the trainees to the different number of corporate actually. Expleo is a classic example for onboarding the trainees. Since they are having a dozen of trainees over there, they can say a group of a bunch of trainees is better. But I'll not be saying that to every corporate, because it will not be a fitting model to employ a 12 number or 10 number. Even if it is a single number, a 2 number, and 1 number, as well as manufacturing, it can be a budgeting model. A mentor can be a supervisor can be I will be saying that it should be a mainstream model. And the mainstream tax supervisor will be interacting with the different but that trainee as a buddy. He will be the best friend for him. He can be hand-holding for every activity. And it will be a classic example for English. Otherwise, if there's a 10% or 9%, then all the thing will be they will be accelerated one group, and other mainstream person will be in another group. It shouldn't happen. The better one is that the employees from Oorjja or from a different community, they should be included in the mainstream. For that, it's the best example, as I already told, that vendor or a buddy. A friend actually can be called as a friend. It can be as a student. There will not be a technology or special translator will not be the friend vendor. So that it can be a more internet.
I think we are very close to reaching our time, but it's been very interesting, and a couple of things that if I can say we can take away is that it definitely says that it's always better to have a team of people joining in at one time or at a single time, as well as one of the main things that I think most of the panelists talked about is also that the mentor and practice, or someone like Dipti said, who's part of that, who would take them, allow them to become the mainstream of business. And business also needs to really see this as a area where there is a lot of benefit for the business as well. It is not that you're doing the CSR or those are, I think we have crossed those limits, and then seeing this as an enabler for the business from a perspective of manpower, like knowledge, manpower, as well as even for the customers. So that these customers also to be very key they have products in their life like this, and process that we should and this is a conversation we've just started, and we will be having this conversation as we keep going by engaging more to understand how we different able people in different spaces, can be clubbed together. We are also trying to do that,
Yeah. There's just one thing I thought I should tell. One of the most successful places where you found that individuals with autism were brought into mainstream was actually in Israel. Okay, and there, this is something which is very interesting in terms of how it happened. I found that out when I went there. Actually, the person who took the lead for that was the chief of Mossad. Okay, that is not because he really had interest. His wife was a speech therapist, and she kept telling him that, we need to do something because these young people have a lot of capabilities. We need to do something. And he said, what can I do? So he actually told me that the day he took over as it was known in public domain that he is going to be the chief of Mossad, his wife came to him and before congratulating him, told him, you now have the power, do something about it. And the moment he took over, then he said, what do I do? And she said, look, the simplest way to do it is identify a certain number of people within Mossad who have children with autism. All right. So he got together 10 of them. She got together the best occupational therapists of the good special educators together. And they had a discussion on what should be done. How do we get individuals with autism used for areas where they can excel? And then the next thing, so while discussing, they said, look, in Israel, army service is compulsory. If you don't serve in the army, there is something wrong with you. You can do it only on legal grounds, or you have some mental health problem. And they said, can we do that? And then he immediately said, how do I get that done? So they said, look, you tried it out now in Mossad to say this is what we do. Let us find out people within the army who got children with autism. And they got together a group with very senior people, brigadiers and others together, brought them together. And that is where the big difference happens. They said, look, it is not how do we do it? It is we have to do this and we have to do it within 3 months. So they were given 6 months time. The senior person of the army, the Mossad chief sat together and they said, 6 months, 3 months to plan out, 3 months to train. And at the end of the 3 months, I want to be part of a passing out parade. Okay. So the thing is that one of the ways to look at corporate is to and I can tell you that without doubt, any large corporate with more than 1,000 employees will have at least 4 or 5, if not more, individuals who have children with autism there. If you look at, so what they did was that was done, and he was actually telling me that he went for the passing out parade, and when he went, of course, the chief of Mossad is very important, and they had some people from the many senior people in the army saluting me. He walked in, he sat, and when he turned around, he actually saw a brigadier who was having tears. And an Israeli army guy can't really have tears in his eyes. Okay, so he went to him after that, and then he said, "What happened? I saw you." And he said, "My son was in that batch, and my son wouldn't go down from our apartment to the ground floor to throw the garbage." Okay, but within 3 months they changed that, and there was a lot of anecdotes he talked about. But what we should really do is we need to identify individuals for whom there is a personal reason to be involved in an initiative like what we're doing in terms of employment within a company. And then we work with them. So you have insiders on your side.
Correct.
One of the big problems I see with many corporates is that they want to do it, say that they're doing it, all right? Mainly because it's good publicity to say that we employ people with disability, but really they don't know how to do it. So you need to find that insider team with it, and the organizations which work with them need to be clear that they do not just say that I want to get 10 people employed, so you take these 10 guys, what you do. No, you have to ensure that they go in and they are fruitfully employed, which means the organization benefits, the individual should also be compensated for what that is being. This is not another way of getting 5 people, or the Provident Fund is paid by government, so we'll take them. No. it is because they can do that. I just thought I'll talk about that just to give you a feel of what.
I think, sir, you brought in a very important point, because even when we have, we are in this journey, right? When we have been involved so closely with Oorjja, and that is our first step that we have taken. We are still trying to engage with many other organizations. So whether it is, the women in leadership organizations whom we are talking to for developing our own women in different, leadership skills, plus Oorjja, where we are talking about, the differently able people. One thing that makes a difference is also the governance and the involvement of management in all these governance calls. We get into monthly governance calls even with these to assess where we are and to make those corrective actions. Because if we just leave it as a program, let them manage it by themselves, and okay, we have got so many people from Oorjja, that's fine, Oorjja is happy, we are happy. No, we are constantly even learning from other corporates who are involved with Oorjja. Because that's where Jay comes into our governance meeting, Joman comes in, he and these guys share with us what are the best practices in other organizations. So sitting within our organization, we might not be able to learn all these things, right? But when we listen from them, we constantly are aware that we also need to make certain changes in the way that we are conducting this program. As you also said, the champions, those need to be identified, the passion that needs to be ignited within our own people, because that's where, some of our own employees who have children with different abilities, they have been the, flag bearers. Our L&D head comes in as the flag bearer. He said, I would like to be involved into D&I. What are you guys doing? Okay, I want to also lead this effort. And this is becoming very positive, that we are spreading this positivity with people. Now we are making them more and more aware. 6 months to 1 year is not a great time that we can really boast of, but this is just the first step in our journey, and we are really happy that we are making people sensitive to the fact that yes, within our families we have people. So why don't we reach out to our own team members first, get them involved in the core team of D&I, and that's how we actually make the positive steps, and we've been very successful. And when we actually interact with our L&D teams, marketing teams, we give them an open option that here are a bunch of people whom we have. They have, these kind of trainings that they've done. Would you like to talk to them and talk to them about what you have been doing as part of your function, so that if they are attracted towards it, let them also try that, and then they will also find more opportunities within this organization. We don't want to say, look, we have trained you in this, so you better just work in this. But there are people who've been trained, but there are some of them are really oriented towards more of designing. So then we said, okay, why not help them with the marketing and design team and the comms team, where they can bring in their best. So as a whole, if the management, your marketing teams, your internal L&D teams, if the D&I team is a core representation of all these teams together, even that is something where we found an inclusion as a D&I team. 6 ladies cannot just sit in one room and say that we are on the D&I team and we are running this. No, if we have all functions participate, and if we have the involvement of everybody, we have the governance, plus we incentivize the champions, because that's going to spread the positive message that we have. And that's what we do. We also see to it that we are giving certain awards to the champions, so that spreads the positive message and instigate other team members to also participate in such activities.
That's very, very good. A nice way to close the such story, as well as what we talked about, the awards for the champions. It's a lovely way. It's something that all corporates can do. That I think we are on time, and I have Jay coming in. Yes, sir.
So I am in. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for this lovely time. I was on the other room listening to everything, each and every sentence which you've been speaking. So I full gratitude. I'm so happy that all of this came in, and the brilliant points coming from most of you and everybody, I would say. We've got a small token of appreciation for each one of you. You would have seen all the invite cards, or whatever you see around here. I mean, on the corner you've got a space. Everything has been, in-house, designed by our in-house team, production by our in-house team, everything. So we also thought it's important that whatever we give today to you also in-house. This is a memento. Each one of you will be receiving this at your space. I mean, it's a painting memento. You would have seen mementos, but this is a painting memento. Every memento is customized to each one of you. Paintings are done by our people over here. At Oorjja, we've got a process of, earn while learn. I mean, everybody who does all these work, will get an earning also. Most of them make pretty good earnings every month. We ensure that so that they have got a habit of earning and understanding the importance of the workmanship. Sorry? Yeah. Right. So this is one. Second one is a calendar. I'm sure this is the first calendar for 2023 for each one of you. I'm sure none of you would have received a calendar. And, there's a calendar again designed by our team over here. And, we executed it here, and believe me, this was done put together in the last 3 days. We didn't have an idea whether we should do it or not because of the time constraints. But our team came back and said, no, students said, no, we will do it. And they worked overnight and then created this beautiful piece of content. This again, I'm sure each of you would love to have a keychain again made by us and designed by our team and then executed our factory. The design factory at Muhammed made at the wood. One more last piece of thing is this one for you to see. The name card what you see here, and all of us at Oorjja, Sarath is wearing that and Lenish is wearing that. It's again a piece done by our team over here, designed and execute our factory over there. It's again a little bit of marketing things sort of. I'm sure you would want to have this at your office. For you to see, this is a kind of piece you could see on wood. This is again on very lightweight and with magnet. With that, handing over to Sarath to give it to first to GBR sir. GBR sir, I know in midst of all the emergencies, you found time to come in. Thank you so much, sir. Over to you, Sarath. You can just show to the camera and then we will courier it to you, sir, over there.
Yes, sir. This is yours, one that will reach you, sir.
Oh, good. Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Great day. I highly appreciate it.
And thank you for coming, all these challenges that you had.
And this is too fun.
Yes, Narendra, yours, which will be couriered to you today.
Thank you so much.
Dipti, yours.
Thank you so much. I think Oorjja truly translates it into energy, and you guys are the energy, passing this energy to all of us. Thank you.
Yes. So that's for you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and what you're doing is very remarkable. We're definitely looking for some collaboration.
Sure. Thank you so much.
Lenish. Thank you.
And to the man finally who ensured that we all stick to the time. 11 to 12, I know it's a very short period. But the whole idea was to get everybody together, get the thinking and going, and we'll have more collaborations and we'll do that. Sarath, in the family, he's part of our Oorjja family, so not much of gratitude record, but still, on our behalf, for you, Sarath.
Thank you.
Yeah. The privilege of being, offline, I mean, we can post for the photograph of Vijaya. Thank you. Thank you very much. And we have got one more thing in the next room. Unfortunately, we invite you for the refreshments thing. We actually planned in a thing that we thought of swinging you to your rooms at your offices, today as a surprise to all four of you who are attending online. We're not sure which office will you be there, so we just dropped that idea.
It was good you dropped the idea because you would have ended up running around the city with it. Yeah.
I would find you. If I would have been running around finding you, you went to the car and getting out of the car. I was taking your call. I could make out that. And Narendra and Dipti. Once again,
sorry for being a bit late, but I enjoyed the discussion.
I can completely understand. I'm so happy that you still managed to find to get inside. Thank you so much, you guys, sir. Narendra, Dipti, Bindu ma'am, Aravind, Lenish, and Sarath. Once again, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Photo.